Fashola gave brief of the ongoing progress work on the shutdown of Lagos Ibadan Road and
bring all the traffic into this direction.
We are going to work to ensure that better during the day after the traffic. If we don't do what we need to do now, the road will collapse.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the program From Lagos to Maiduguri, Power Works and Housing Agenda. This program brings to your doorstep the strides of the Muhammadu Buhari administration in the power works and housing sector of the nation's economy as the move to bridge the infrastructure gap continues towards a sustainable socio-economic development. I am your anchor, Sarah Yeku. On the program this week, we'll be taking you on a voyage first through the housing sector and what is being done to bridge the annual deficit in the sector by the federal government. Join us after this break for a proper takeoff of today's edition. Don't go away.
And frankly, your ministry holds the key. It's not the only thing. You need the infrastructure, you need policies, you need technical skills and all that. But what you have done, and anybody will, nobody needs to know how many megawatts of power we're producing. You experience it. Okay, we know the number of hours we used to be in darkness and the number of hours that they experience in Kano. Most people will tell you they get electricity for 16, 17, 18 hours on the average since you moved in, which is frankly significant progress. And if we as households are experiencing it, I'm hoping that that translates also into more factories, reducing their cost of production, being able to produce.
Welcome back. The federal government said the construction industry is a fundamental part of its efforts aimed at bridging the housing gap for Nigerians. Power Works and Housing Minister Babatunde Fashola disclosed this in Kaduna State while inspecting 80 houses under the construction as part of the National Housing Program. He added that this is a reaffirmation of government's commitment to the welfare of Nigerians and the provision of affordable but quality houses.
The minister, during an inspection to 80 of the houses where construction is ongoing in Kaduna, says that the National Housing Initiative is to bridge the housing deficit in the country. The houses consisting of 1, 2 and 3 bedroom bungalows is at 75% completion stage, with indigenous contractors, suppliers and laborers handling the project.
The first game is to get people to work, to restore people's dignity. We are starting a housing economy. It wasn't here 2 years ago. It's now an ecosystem of activity. Sand, containers, gravel, paint, roofing sheet. That's how economies are built.
Our people are getting a lot of employment. At least this is not a matter of working in the office that gives employment. This gives a lot of employment to people who work every day and you pay them every day. They go happy.
The National Housing Program under the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing will continue to empower the people, develop indigenous capacity in housing delivery, provide decent accommodation to Nigerians, and create millions of jobs nationwide.
Still in the housing sector, the federal government will continue to put in place measures and programs to ensure that Nigerians are gainfully employed. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, made this known after an encounter with one of the workers at the Gwagwalada FT site of the National Housing Program. The minister said activities in the sector would not only boost employment, but the economy. He restated the commitment of the government to providing gainful employment through projects to all Nigerians.
So which one is better, this one or the roadside?
This one is better.
The National Housing Program FCT site in Dupai Gwagwalada Area Council covers 4 hectares of land consisting of 3 condominiums of 3 floors each, with a total of 24 flats and 72 flats for the 3, including roads, electricity and motorized borehole projects. While the minister meets with Fidelis, who is happy about the opportunity to work and earn money, it says the ministry is ensuring that the housing design responds to Nigeria's diverse needs.
The Ministry of Power, Works and Housing has a budget, or the largest budget. This is what happens to that budget. We're just a conduit for moving it on to the people of Nigeria through contracts that are awarded, work that is done, payments that are made, concrete, cement that is mixed, woodwork that is done by carpenters, iron rods that is put together, bound together by laborers. So that's what happens to that budget. This is the destination of the budget.
Project managers say these projects are creating jobs and boosting infrastructural development in Nigeria.
It really helps. You see, more than 50, around 60 are working here now. Before, many people do not have work. Now, because of these projects, give them a chance from surrounding community. They have many work now and they are happy, living happy now.
As the federal government is at different stages of completing housing construction in 33 states, the minister adds that this would make mass housing more affordable and assist Nigerians own their own homes. For more comments, information and feedback on the program, you can get in touch with us on the social media handles scrolling on your screen. So much for the housing sector. We'll be back after this timeout to x-ray developments in the Ministry of Works. Stay with us.
And frankly, your ministry holds the key. It's not the only thing you need. The infrastructure, you need policies, you need technical skills and all that. But what you have done, and anybody will, nobody needs to know how many megawatts of power we're producing. You experience it. Okay, we know the number of hours we used to be in darkness and the number of hours that they experience in Kano. Most people will tell you they get electricity for 16, 17, 18 hours on the average since you moved in, which is frankly significant progress. And if we as households are experiencing it, I'm hoping that translates also into more factories, reducing their cost of production, being able to produce.
Welcome back. In the road sector, the federal government has called on stakeholders to respect regulations put in place by the federal government to ensure safe haulage of goods on the roads. This position was made known by President Muhammadu Buhari while speaking at a one-day stakeholders forum put together by the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing to address the issue of control of overloading, especially by heavy-duty trucks, by the introduction of an axle road policy. The president's position was reiterated by the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, who also spoke at the same occasion.
The federal government is calling for the support of stakeholders, including Nigerians, on its approval in February 2018 and introduction of an ASU load control policy to regulate the tonnage of load being carried by heavy-duty trucks and tankers nationwide. The presentation of the regulations document to stakeholders at this one-day public enlightenment is necessary to limit the excess traffic loading on the roads and make pavements last longer.
Presently, the haulage of industrial goods, agricultural produce, industrial raw materials, petroleum products, power plant components, and many other industrial equipment required in the manufacturing sector is carried out using the nation's road network. In order to take the full benefits of these projects when finally completed and get value for our investment, we must change our ways. As the head of this government, I've signed up for that change.
Our compliance with these regulations will open a massive door of opportunity and prosperity of cross-border trade to Nigerians who are engaged in road transport business. The way we choose to use the roads when they are finally completed will determine how long they last and whether they deliver prosperity.
Through the construction of way bridges and more, this administration is set to reduce the quantity of loads vehicles carry to avoid road damages.
Regulate road transport by producing the federal highways, control dimensions, weights and axle load of heavy-duty goods, transport vehicles, which has crystallized in the regulation you have just given to all of us. If we don't take out anything from this stakeholders forum, we should take this away. And that means we now know that government is interested in all these complaints you have been laying.
What the law says is that excess will be overloaded, will be offloaded at the weighbridge station, then you're going to pay a fine. And the minimum fine, if you're carrying 1 ton above the legal limit, starts from 1 million naira. So it graduates like that till the maximum fine of about 10 million. We are doing it to make the infrastructure last.
The minister believes that road users need to understand that good roads last longer when they are not subjected to overload, which exerts pressure on them and shortens road lifespan.
As part of efforts by the federal government to boost economic activities and interconnectivity between states, the federal government said it will continue to improve on the network of bridges and roads across the country. The plan of this present administration to construct 44 federal highways, 63 roads, including bridges, is to give relief to Nigerians. As projects are approaching completion stage across the country, it is clear that this would connect states, boost transportation of fuel, food, and the import and export of goods, as well as continue to drive the nation's economy.
This government is now rapidly and aggressively addressing the road transport infrastructure repairs, rehabilitation, and construction, as many of you who travel regularly will attest. And I say very, very confidently and proudly that there is no state in Nigeria today where you will not see our contractors busy at work. We are the actors of the change that is required to take us to prosperity.
This workshop provides stakeholders in the works sector an opportunity to deliberate on how to solve problems in the sector.
As we acknowledge and appreciate your good works embarked upon by this administration, I want to assure you of our continued support and loyalty towards every initiative that will improve the safety and sustain the maintenance of roads in the Federation.
We are also here to pledge our support to federal government in all its effort to put Nigerian roads on course, and to also say that we are totally in support of this workshop, and we also want to use this opportunity to commend the Honorable Minister for Works and Housing on this effort, because he has matched his words with action.
Issue of longevity of roads, bridges and culverts put in place all over the country by the federal government is one that has agitated the minds of many Nigerians. But the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, through its helmsman, Babatunde Fashola, says bridges, roads and culverts will last longer only if Nigerians treat them as their own and not promote or engage in illegal activities around them, especially on bridges.
Illegal sand mining activities had exposed the foundation of the Tamburawa Bridge while endangering the entire structure. In order to sustain the federal government's ongoing project of reinstating and protecting the bridge constructed over the river, stakeholders including the Kano State government must stop the illegal activities for the contractor to complete his work in 5 months.
If it continues, it will continue to endanger that bridge in spite of the remedial work. So I'm making this appeal to you, the government and people in Kano, to help us protect this asset.
Like Oliver Twist, the state government and Emirate Council solicit for more and assure the minister that they would support the federal government to ensure a stop to sand mining in Tamburawa River.
Let me, on his behalf, thank you very much for what you have been doing to us. Many federal projects in Kano have been revived under your leadership. We want to also seize the opportunity to actually request for your intervention in quite a number of projects in Kano.
I'd like to assure you of the complete support of the Emirate Council. On Tamburawa, today is the first time I'm hearing this. Usually what we encourage, and he knows, what we encourage them to do is to tell us. If you tell the emir calls the district head. District head calls the village head, and that's it.
The contractor, however, recommends that no mining should take place within 3 kilometers on either side of the bridge, while community members solicit for more of federal government presence in the state.
For more information, comments and feedback, to get in touch with us on any of the social media handles scrolling on your screen. The federal government has given a 2-week ultimatum to the warring communities around the Bodo Boni Road project to resolve their differences with the contractor to ensure that the project continues to make the necessary progress. Power Works and Housing Minister Babatunde Fashola gave the ultimatum on behalf of the federal government in a meeting with members of the community over the shutdown of the project following recent attacks on the workers of the construction firm.
To get drinking water and other basic amenities, members of Bodo Boni communities have to use canoes across the water, hence the construction of a bridge to ease the stress of doing business. Recent attacks on contractors working in the area resulted in the shutdown of the project. However, the Minister of Works, Power and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, urges Bodo Boni community leaders at this meeting to unite around development and ensure the completion of the project.
But we need to have a position before the end of this week, an MOU of compromise, assuring us that there will be peace in that place, signed by you, agreed to by you, give it to us, and invite the contractor to come back. Otherwise, I will then write a report to Mr. President that it does not seem that this project is ready to go.
One after the other, leaders of Bodo Boni communities expressed their views, laying more emphasis on compensation, while other stakeholders call for peace and successful continuity of the project.
I want all of us, to affirm that we want this road and that we will give a peace a chance.
We faced this attack with the result that we had to withdraw our people on the barges as an immediate effect, because, and let us state this very clearly, we will not accept any threat to our employees.
We want to know, we want to make an input. If they are going to deny our people of their traditional occupational skills, we want to know what mitigative measures to accommodate our people. That's what we want to know.
The Minister of State for Power, Works and Housing says delaying the project and remobilization to reopen it will incur unplanned costs.
As we eat the home stretch, let us take this break before we go to the developments in the power sector. In the power sector, the federal government is ramping up efforts aimed at broadening the nation's energy mix with the introduction of renewable energy into the mix, especially to target areas with large concentration of businesses like the Sabongari market in Kano State, the Sura market in Lagos, and the Ariara main market. The government has introduced solar-powered electricity plants to ensure that business activities go on without power-related hindrances. The move is described as a game-changer by business owners in the 3 locations.
The nation's power mix is composed mainly of the hydropower plants and the thermal plants, but these are subject to seasonal changes in respect of hydropower plants and supply chain issues in relation to gas. These have prompted observers to call on the federal government to look into the use of renewable energy as an alternative, especially for small businesses and areas where there is a concentration of business activities around the country. Minister of Power, Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola, who had an on-the-spot assessment at one of the 3 sites chosen for the project, the Sabongari market in Kano, said the aim of the federal government is to ensure that businesses go on without let or hindrance.
It's really a coming together of opportunities, and this is what this government is about: supporting businesses, ease of doing business, dedicating attention to small and medium scale businesses, because those are the drivers of GDP. So you will see from one of the customers I spoke to, he was spending about 2,000 thereabout a week on 5 hours electricity. He's now getting 10 hours electricity for half of that price. That is money in his pocket.
He had an encounter with a business owner in the market who attested to the efficacy of the model put in place by the federal government to address power access issues in the market.
Before I was using my solar generator, I always put 500 naira a day. Then the solar from now, they are doing 1,000 naira per week, so we benefit it. Then our customer will come inside and see our goods very clearly. And I have one part that give me pressure so that I will increase so that I will stay outside.
For others involved in the project, It's an ongoing process that will change the game for business owners in the markets and other such targeted places for development.
On the systems level, we're similarly capturing how power is being generated, used across the whole portfolio of systems. But then very soon we'll also, on a meter by meter level, be displaying this here as well. And for each customer right now, they can in a mobile app see how much energy they've used, how much they have left based on what they've consumed.
The task given to us is to go into the Sabongari market because government wants to power all the markets. Sabongari market is one of the pilot projects.
In Shomolu, Sura, both in Lagos State and the Ariara main market in Abia State, the story is not so different from what the traders in Sabongari market are experiencing.
They talk of the fashion industry, they talk of the textile industry. Nobody talks about the printing industry. And whether you like it or not, it's a big industry that employs a lot of Nigerians.
In this medicine line, we have injection and all the rest of them. Putting it in a fridge is more preservable than keeping it on the counter. The light is good.
Our shopping complex was actually established 1996 precisely, and it was like a business community where you have so many other businesses coming together, and we have over 1,000 shops within the complex.
The initiative, according to the traders, is one that will not only affect their bottom line, that will also ensure that they are healthier in the long run.
Even when we are giving light, I'll still spend like 12,000 naira diesel daily. You know, without light, all what we are making in the kitchen may go sour. So we don't even have choice rather than to buy the diesel, no matter how expensive the diesel is or not.
One of the major issues that is making the occupancy ratio in Sura to be less than 50% today is because of electricity. We have had to rely on generators. All the quadrangles have not less than 8-10 generators.
While the traders in the markets enjoy the measures put in place by the federal government to help in easing the burdens of day-to-day business activities, efforts aimed at expanding the energy mix and bring incremental, steady and uninterrupted power supply to all Nigerians continues apace.
As part of its multi-pronged approach to the issue of available power to all Nigerians, the federal government has called on Nigerians to adopt the whistleblower policy by ensuring that the phenomenon of power theft becomes a thing of the past by reporting such acts to the appropriate authorities. This, according to the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, will help in ensuring that power is made available to only those who pay for it.
The minister says the new meter regulatory framework is part of federal government's efforts to minimize meter bypassing, while calling on Nigerians to whistleblow to curb energy thefts in the country.
This will persist until we can solve them, but we work to isolate problems. Diagnosis is critical to problem solving, so we know where the problem is.
In order to resolve the issue of meter bypassing, policing of meters is another strategy that will be employed.
This goes through the procurement process. And the reason why they have to go through a procurement process is to make sure that customers who will eventually pay for these meters actually pay a transparent and efficient cost for the meter.
According to the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, the good news is that energy theft is no longer going to be a challenge, as the President Buhari-led administration through the ministry's regulatory and recovery programs is committed to delivering quality service to Nigerians.
That's it on this week's edition of the program. Let's continue the conversation on any of the social media handles scrolling on your screen, like our page on Facebook at From Lagos to Maiduguri/Facebook. Just before we go, take ownership of government infrastructure projects around you and ensure that they are not subject to abuse. Be an agent of change. Pay your tax to continue to advance the infrastructure agenda of the Buhari administration. Thank you so much for watching. Join us again next week. I am your anchor, Sarah Yeku. Bye for now.
Bring all the traffic into this direction.
We are going to work to ensure that the road will
people just have to enjoy it.